just wanted to start off. How you doing? What's going on?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm
Are you
nervous,
nervous?
but
You don't
it's
look.
okay.
Does she look nervous, church? Nah.
For someone that can talk to anyone, I get up here and I'm like, oh, no. Okay,
I get it.
I'm good.
It's not just anyone. It's a
No.
bunch of
Yeah.
church people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No.
that doesn't mean anything. I'm just joking with you. But as you can see, Sammy and our family are very close, and we're friends from even back in high school. Not so much me, but Kirsty, and there's a lot of story there. So tell us about yourself. What's your life like?
Well, I'm probably best known here as Kirsty's best friend. That's where you might see me. Kirsty's the godmother of my little boy, Keo, that you might have seen around here. I'm the godmama of her eldest boy, Dallas. Kirsty and I have been friends for many, many years. I've been at Coastside I think I've been here since you guys were in over at Panthers. So that's a while. So it's been a while, but I feel like I've only recently started my relationship with God, probably almost coming up a year, I'd say.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but it's been super powerful.
Yeah.
Super powerful.
So you've got life going on, and we're in and out of Panthers, but you come up to a year soon.
Yeah.
What even, brought you to Coastside, or how did you even get engaged? I know we're friends, but there's probably more to it, because Kirsten and I have a lot of friends, and we're working on them all the time to come to Coastside. You are here, so tell us a bit about that.
You know what, you say that, but I feel like it never felt like that. Like, for me to come to church, it was never that Kirsty was like, can you please come to church? Like, I'd love you to come. Even though I knew she did want me to come, it was never like that for me. So I didn't grow up Christian. I went to a Catholic school, but I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't really even believe in God all that much.
Yeah.
And I moved away, a long time ago now, probably about 10 years ago when I first met my partner. And I saw, before I moved, Kirsty met Sam, and I saw a change in her, like straight from
Best
the start.
decision of her life.
Best decision of her life. Clearly. Anyways, I came back, and there was just a huge shift in the person that she was.
Right.
And it wasn't what she was saying. It wasn't what she was doing. It was just who she was. It was just this infectious energy and joy and light that she she always brought to my life, but I saw it so differently.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. I obviously love her company, and I always spend my time with her, but to be so invested in her life before she found God, and then to be invested in her life after she found God, it was something else, and it was really, really inspiring. Anyway, I still didn't even think I was going to come to church then. Even though I saw her in this space, I still didn't think I was going to come to church.
Yeah.
And then one day I woke up, and I literally was just like, oh, I think I need to go to church. And I messaged her.
So no text, no
nothing.
invite?
There was no invite. I just woke up, and I was like, I think I need to go to church. I don't know what. Anyway, so she came to the gym that afternoon. I think I was training her for a group class, and I was like, I'm going to come to church this weekend. She's like, okay. I was like, I don't know what to expect, but I'm going to come. So I went to church, and look, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I'd gain from it. I didn't know what it was going to be like. It was nothing. Can I just say, it was nothing like I thought it was going to be like. Like, I'm thinking, like, when I used to go to St Agnes, St Agnes, the Catholic church, when I had to go to Mass, like when I was in primary school, and I was like, it was nothing like that.
Yeah.
It was fun. Everyone's dancing. Everyone's having a great time. But what I found was, even though, like, I was turning up week after week, it was more how I left feeling, and the messages were always so relevant. Even though I didn't have a relationship with God, they were still so relevant, and everything. I always left feeling lighter, and I left feeling like I'd ended my week on a really good note.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, where are we now?
Before you fast forward, I just want to bring out a point there.
Yeah.
And this is good for us tonight, and we're going to get onto the topic in a minute of what we're, the growth through.
Mm-hmm.
But your growth through track and what you're going through, I just want to make a point of that it's so powerful that, and this is good news for us, that the way we lived was your invite, not what we said or our Instagram post or something.
No.
And I think, church, if we can take note from that, following Jesus Christ is not what we claim, it's how we live. And living's the greatest invite. We always say, Kirsten and I always say, preach, but keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And it's like, how you live is definitely, and I just wanted to draw that for the church. Sammy said, I showed up because of the way she lived.
Yeah.
And I think all of us can go, you know what, we can reach people all around Port Macquarie or the world by the way we live.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to quickly touch on that because Kirsty's played like a obviously massive part of my journey. If it wasn't for Kirsty, if it wasn't for you guys, I obviously wouldn't be here. But Kirsty, like just to toot your horn a little bit, yesterday, this first example, this happens all the time for Kirsty, I'm sure she hears it all the time, but my sister, who's not Christian anyway, we went down to do some stuff for my wedding that's coming up down in Newcastle, and we were just sitting at this little bar having a couple of cocktails, and she said to me, she pulls Kirsty aside, and she goes to her, do you know how much you impact people's lives? Like, this is a girl who's not Christian, who doesn't believe in God. She said, just by being you.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I grabbed Kirsty, and she's tearing up, and I'm like, this is exactly what I'm telling you. Like, you are so infectious in who you are and how you live your life that's why people come here. That's why I came here. So, and I think, like, I look at, like, I've made some of the greatest friendships ever here, and I look at every one of you, and I'm like, you all just exude this beautiful light and joy, and I think that's a really beautiful trait to have.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you do it differently, and that's why you get people in the door.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so true. You know, the topic we're doing is grow through what you go through, and I know that you've been part of that, and it's your turn to share this. What's something you've recently had to go through, or something in your life that's altered the direction of your life?
Yeah.
That, you know, along those things.
Yeah. So I ran a business here locally. I trained a lot of the girls here, but I ran a really successful business that closed right before COVID hit a few years ago. Gosh, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And last year I went through a really, really big, rough patch, probably from my mental health got really bad from June to about October's where it changed for me. And I had to make some really big decisions for the trajectory of my life and how it was going and how that was going to affect my family and what that looked like. So I ended up pulling out of my partnership, not knowing what to expect, not knowing what that was going to look like for us, especially financially, and was really, really suffering with tremendous depression and anxiety. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional.
That's all right.
And it was, Kirsty was there for me the whole time. And I'd often have lots of conversations with her. And I remember, like, this, even before this, I used to always come to her and say to her, I'd been coming to church for so long, I'm like, I just want what you guys have. Like, I really want, like, this undeniable faith that you have that someone's got it, someone's got you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just don't have it. Like, I come because I feel so good, but I just don't have it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was going through this really, really hard time and trying absolutely everything to help myself. And I'd come to a service, and Kia was upstairs, and Kirst was running children's church. And anyways, she was upstairs, and she pulled Sam over to pray for me.
Yeah,
and
upstairs in there.
Yeah, upstairs in children's church. And I just remember saying to her, I just said, I can't do this anymore. I've tried everything, and I feel like I'm broken.
Yeah.
And nothing can fix me. And it was like I had to let go of every part of me that felt like I was in control of it.
Yeah.
And let my ego go. And her and Sam prayed over me. And this is going to break your heart. Dallas came and prayed for me too.
Yeah, we remember that.
And it was the most powerful thing that's ever happened to me. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what would come from it. But I swear that's the date my life changed. And I felt peace. And that's the only way I can explain it to people, because everyone has their story. And I'm like, why don't I have that? Why don't I have that? And I'd get so inspired by everyone else. And it was in that moment when I let everything else go and I surrendered to it, everything changed for me. So I had this expectation on what I thought it was going to be and how it should look and how everyone says it's going to be. And it took me to get to that point, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I think I'm a true believer that through every breakdown comes a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And I had to hit rock bottom for me to be able to find God. And that's exactly how it happened. I never would have thought that. I never would have walked into church thinking it could happen to me.
That's powerful,
and it did.
eh? So
fast forward to now, I I can't, and that's the thing, like people who know God, they always say, I can't explain, Kirsty used to say, I can't explain it. When you know, like I just can't, you can't force it, there's nothing you can do. Like you'll know. And that's how it's like, there's people I talk to now and I'm like, I can't explain it. Like people still don't, they know I come to church, but I don't think they know my relationship with God.
Much more, yeah.
And I'm like, I really can't explain it to you. It's just, it feels like peace. It feels like I can breathe. For someone that was saying I'm so broken and nothing can fix me, to now going, oh, it's actually okay. I feel okay. I feel like it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, so.
I mean, I love that, the breakdown brings a breakthrough. And that's exactly the topic we're on.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that sometimes we come from a place of faith. We've followed God our whole lives and we have those breakdown moments where we bounce back because we know God. But to experience Him for the first time, and I remember when we were talking about this interview before tonight, that you said one of my key, values I have now is just show up.
Yeah.
Just show up no matter what, get involved no matter what, and one moment will change the rest of your life.
And to not have an expectation, like to not try and force anything, to not try and control anything, because that's not how it happens. Kirsty used to say to me, you just wait, like there's no time frame on this, you just wait. Yep. And it was like, I was trying so hard. I was like, come on, when are you going to do it?
And that's the beauty of it. No one can keep God in a box.
No.
And Jesus doesn't belong in just the four walls.
Yeah.
Even though it was kids' church where you had that moment.
Yeah.
But I do remember we prayed for you a few times in our lounge room.
Yeah.
And you would have, I think you mentioned you felt good about it, but you didn't have that click of like, what have they got I don't have?
Yeah.
And so to see you grow through that, like to go through that and have that turning point, that's an amazing thing. Hey,
and
church.
I think that's what people think as well. I think it's like they think they have to be there already to come to church. And it's like, I came to church for 3 years because it made me feel so good. Like it filled my cup. I didn't have what everyone else had. I couldn't always resonate with what was going on, but it's like it happened when I needed it to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I know that I mentioned before about what the importance of the local church, and we know God's everywhere, and we know the Holy Spirit's everywhere, and we know these. But we prayed multiple times in the lounge room, and you kept showing up to a bigger gathering, and you had your moment. And I don't think it's because God's only in this place. I believe it's because when people get together, He wants to get more and more involved. Because He's like, look at my children doing stuff together. And right there, even when Dallas came over, you had that moment. Where, is this what God actually feels like to know God, to partner with God? What's your life look like? We'll get into another story I want you to share. But since finding God, how did you feel? What was your week looks like? What did life go perfect, or did you have?
It's kind of like it's kind of straight. I think it was more that I just didn't have the fear of the unknown. I think that's the best way to explain it. So I still obviously have moments that I go through that are quite tricky.
Unknown.
Yeah. So it was more that. Even though, like, gosh, it was probably the most scary part of my life. Like, I just handed in everything that I grew for the last 5 years. I was coming to terms with being a mum. My whole identity had changed, and I had to come up with a way to live. I was worried about how I was going to financially make ends meet, let alone, have something to do. So I don't know how, hey. Like, this is the stuff. This is where I say when you can't explain it, like, you cannot explain it. I literally went, October to April with no job.
Wow.
And our family survived. No job. And then the week that I literally would have exhausted every cent, a job came to me. So I didn't apply for it. It came to me. So, and now I'm the coordinator of the neighbourhood centre where I'm back working in community, which is what I did, which is what my heart was. That was my career.
So not only have you walked away from a job that you were feeling lost in, God's provided a job, not just pay the bills, but something you thrive in. That is the goodness of God, church. Let me tell you this right now. When we're growing through things and we're going through things, it's who we're partnering with that makes the difference. Yeah. And I love that. It's like in between you going through that season, you find God, and then God's like, hey, girl, I got something for you. Drops you that job. And
just like that.
Yeah, and it's not... I know God. Driving down the street. Hey, girl. I'm like, hey, Dad. I love that in between that, God just confirms to you, hey, I'm here. I got you.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to pay your bills. I'm going to give you something you love and thrive in. And that's the beauty of God. See, one of the things I wanted to... I know you're sharing a story of what you've gone through. But tell me, let's break down a little bit more of what... If you can encourage someone tonight the importance of showing up and the importance of listening to God, because you mentioned that a lot. It's like you have to listen. Now you find God.
Yeah.
You can't just find him.
No.
You got to start listening to him.
Yeah.
And that's such a key point. I know we talked about that before. You don't just find him. You have to also listen to him. Give us an encouragement. Tell us somewhere where God's put that to the test.
So I guess, I don't know if everyone does this, it might just be me, maybe because I've only just recently found God. But I like to know he's there to make sure I'm on the right track, or that he's still around, that I haven't just had this encounter and now I'm like, you've left me. But I like to make sure he's still there. So I always ask for like messages or signs or anything like that. And that's where I do believe like nothing's a coincidence. But one example, and this would be like, it's always the timing, hey. So I was going through some pretty tricky stuff, like nothing too intense. It was more that the environment I was in was quite negative and really just kind of dimming my light a little bit. Like I feel like in my job, I love to bring joy to people. That's my whole, I love to bring light. I like to help, but in a way that people leave better than when they walked in.
For sure.
And I was just starting to get a little bit down with some stuff that was going on. And anyways, I had a meeting out at Newman College and I was driving back in. I was like, oh, I kind of need to get stuff for dinner. And I was like, oh, I've been there like a little bit long that I should have. I won't. But anyways, I called into Audi and I seen this man sitting outside, and he was homeless and he had a sign and it said, I'm really struggling. I'd appreciate any help. Anyway, a lady was talking to him, so I was like, oh no, I won't talk to him, I won't go over. And went and did my things and I was leaving and he was still sitting there and I'm walking in my car with my groceries and I'm like hearing this, Sammy, go and talk to him, Sammy, go and talk to him, Sammy, go and talk to him. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go and talk to him. Anyways, so I put my stuff in. It was mainly because I was so late.
So you've gone and put your stuff in the car
Put
park?
my stuff in the car.
To go back to this homeless
To go
man.
back.
Yeah.
And I sat with him and I was more thinking from a workspace, like I might be able to give him a hand. Anyways, I sat down with him and I said, he introduced himself, his name was John.
Yeah.
And had a yarn to John about what was going on for him. First I had this young boy come over and he's like, can I just say, he like stopped us, he's like, oh, I gave this gentleman a few coins, but I just want to say like that really warmed my heart to see someone sitting with him and talking to him and not just giving him something, but really like taking the time to give him some, hold space for him. Anyway, then I had another man come over and he goes, you know God, don't you? And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah, hang on,
Sorry,
how
what?
do you? Hang on a minute.
And he's like, I know you heard what I heard. And I was like, I didn't really say anything. I kind of just listened. He goes, I know he told you to go and sit with this gentleman. And he goes, you know what? I'm questioning myself because I said to him, I hope you're not spending that money on drugs. And he said, and you did the complete opposite. And you taught me a lesson. And he's like, I dead set think you're an angel here from God, here in the correct time when this gentleman needed you. And he goes, you have no idea the impact you've made on his life. Sat with John a bit longer and then had a chat to him, gave him some like support service and stuff, made sure he was all right. And I left him and he said, God bless you. And it was big. I got into my car and I just cried. I cried and ran Kirsty. I'm like, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me? But I was like, oh, thank you. Like, thank you. These are in those moments of when you need someone to go, hey, remember like what you're here to do. Remember you're here to be kind. Remember you're here to have a heart. Remember you're here to serve others. Everything else can wait. Don't worry about getting home to cook dinner. That can wait. So, yeah, really powerful. And
How long have you known God for?
not long. Yeah.
You know, I just want to draw, there's so much gold in that. When you started, you said you don't just find God, you have to constantly be reminded he's there. And I think that's sometimes the mess we get stuck in is we become what we call a Christian or we become a Christ follower, but we stay where we're at. We don't look at going further than what we do and we just stay where we're at. And through you pushing into that and going, you know what, God, I've now met you. I want to know you more. Tell me. He prompts your heart to sit with a homeless man and someone else comes up and he goes, God said the same thing to me. And you're like, so he is here. And that reassurance.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And he was looking at me dead. He was such a lovely man. I wish I could remember his name. But then he was like speaking the word of God to this homeless man. Like he's like, he's like, you'll find Christ. There is a Christ. I want you to believe there's a Christ. And just, it was, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. You can't explain it. That's what everyone was telling me before, like, you can't explain it. And now when people ask me, I'm like, I can't explain it. Yeah.
You know, what an incredible story, church. If that's just a testimony of what God can do in your life. And I guess the growth through for you is, I had this tough season or previous parts of my life. And once I partnered with God, it didn't just go away my tough life, but I learned to find my identity in Him, my strength in Him, and here I was with Him. And then the second thing you got to grow through is like, I'm not just going to stay where I am with God. I also have to grow and change and follow what He's doing in that change. And you know, I haven't even thought about that until you said that tonight. We talk about the things that will happen in our life, we have to grow through and change them. But just knowing God, you also have to grow. And you also have to change with what He's doing. And you're a testimony that your story shines, that in less than a year, God's got me sitting with homeless men and talking about the love of God. And I love what she said. Dinner, all the other stuff can wait. We're called to be kind, and we're called to be patient. We're called to bring hope and God to this world. And I don't know, I'm feeling inspired about that. We need to go find more people and, you know. Is there anything you want to share on your heart just to let the church know? Or
No, more so for people, I think, that don't come to church. I think it's more, there's so many people, and start reminding me I'm getting recorded. No, I think that's the biggest part. Like, and I know that Kirsty's had lots of people that will message her, and they're intrigued. They're like, I want what you've got.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's a reminder to everyone else, like, exactly that. Like, you don't have to say anything. You never have to say. To be honest, like, if Kirsty said anything, I'd probably run the other way back then. So I think it's more the example that you set and how you treat people. Like, that's what people want to see. That's what they want, more of that. And people want more of that. Like, people are desperate for that. They want people to be kind to them. They want people to love on them. They want people to be generous.
Yep.
Because we don't see that. So when you see that, you're like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that's a reminder to everyone else. But I think for anyone that's maybe watching that isn't involved, like, just come and see what it's like. Just be patient. I think be patient. Don't have any expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we close tonight, let's jump into Job again. Your beginnings will seem humble, and you know they can be how they are, but so prosperous will be your future. And your story is that to a T. You know, started here, and God's got me prospering over here. And that's a great thing for those online, those that are not part of our church. Showing up, finding out who He is, and letting Him bring future hope and love to what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's great. You know, we just wanted to honor you tonight for sharing your story. She did good, eh? Like, she's like, I'm nervous, and I'm like, you know, being nervous, like I still get nervous even to this day after 10 years of being up here. Nerves where you have to rely on God. Yeah. And you're telling me I'm too scared to get up here in front of our family, and you went and sat with a homeless man at the front of Audi. That's putting me out of my comfort zone. That's I'm going to go sit with him in front of everyone and not be ashamed, because love's more important. So thank you so much, Tammy. We love you. We're so appreciative of you. Let's put our hands together one more time.